In today's video, Joe and I are going to give you some tips and tricks on unclogging your kitchen sink. We're going to show you some things you should not do. We're also going to show you one of the easiest ways to unclog your kitchen sink.
The first thing we want to talk about is, keeping ourselves safe. So we want some kind of eye protection. And the next thing we're going to talk about is some kind of gloves to use. You definitely do not want to use any kind of vinyl or latex or rubber and grab directly onto that cable, because the little windings in here will actually suck the glove into the cable, and you're very likely to get some type of injury right there. So I always like to have some kind of leather gloves that I'm actually going to touch the cable with. Now, I do like to have these latex gloves on under the leather, because as you see, they are super disgusting. And once you've grabbed that cable for a few minutes and it gets wet, these get super wet and it goes right through to your skin. And this is the stuff that I'm talking about that gets all over those gloves. That's why those gloves look like that. So you can imagine the juicy disgustingness that you want to keep your latex gloves on under that leather, so that's not getting all over your skin directly.
So when your sink is full of water, before you start cleaning the drain, the first thing you're going to want to do is get all the water out of the sink, especially before you take the drain apart, or you're really going to have a mess.
Now you can imagine how much a mess that would make if that sink up above us was completely full of water.
However, the easiest way to do that is a wet, dry shop vac. You just stick your hose in the sink, suck the water out. But if you don't have a wet, dry shop vac, just do it the old-fashioned way. Get you a cup, start scooping it out, putting it in a bucket or a bowl, whatever you have, and that's going to be your first course of action.
Now we want to make sure we have a little bucket handy that we can get up under the trap. And we're going to get the trap off, and of course there's always going to be a little bit of water in the trap. This stuff will splatter all over the place. And always keep a little towel nearby to catch the last little drips of water like that. And we'll set our trap over here to the side. So normally these kitchen sink drains will come apart in pieces. So before you even need to start running your cable down the main part of the drain that's glued together, you can unscrew these things, and lots of times the blockages are actually in the little pieces that you can get apart. Just reach in there and get that stuff out of there. Okay, so the rest of that we're going to take out there outside and get the rest of that cleaned out with a garden hose. So next we're going to get the other side of the P-trap out of the line, and we're going to clean it out also with Renee's little spatula thing. And we have to remove this anyway because we're going to stick a cable down the line right here, and this is how we're going to go in. Yep, that's nasty. Now that sure enough does stink, man. Darn it.
Yes, it does.
The next thing we want to do before we run our cable in this line is get as much of the goop out as we can. Because you'll see when we start running that cable, when that thing's spinning like that, it splatters all over the place.
We are all ready to start cleaning these kitchen drain. There's several different ways, several different cable things you can use to clean your drain. So we got hand drums. These are hand cranks, and this one's battery operated. This is the Populo. This is a little thing that drain cleaner I found on Amazon. I felt really sorry for Joe because he has to use this hand drum usually, and you spin it and you have to hold it and pull it out. It's all manual. So Joe's not as young as he used to be, and I try to take care of him. So I ordered him this little drain cleaning battery operated tool from Amazon, and we're going to check it out and see how it does.
All right, now we're going to check out Renee's little treat that she's got for me. And we have the transmission in neutral right here, so we're just going to get the cable started in there a little bit by hand instead of trying to let the transmission feed it through there and hold on to it. And the next thing I want to talk about is, you do want whatever tool that you're using with these little cables as close to the opening as you can get, so you're not going to have an opportunity for that cable to twist up with a lot of exposed line out. We'll talk about that a little bit more a little later. And also, I like to have a bucket under the opening of the drain where, whatever you pull back, it can just fall right in the bucket and you can catch it. Okay, now we're going to throw this transmission in forward right here. And we're just going to hit this motor trigger to the motor and let this thing spool out and see what happens. Now, I've already got the transmission in reverse, so let's bring it back. So there, yep, there it is. I thought it sounded like it was getting close.
Okay, before you do any of the things we just showed you, I want you to click on the video above and try this little trick using a plunger. It'll make your life so much more easier. You won't even have to clean out from under your cabinet if you use the plunger. A common thing we see sometimes is people take boiling water and pour it down their drain. And that's not really a good idea because, for one, we've gone and this has been melted. It's just been like zigzag. It will melt this thin polypropylene drain. So that's one of the reasons you don't want to use boiling water. But the other reason is people think, oh, the boiling water is going to melt the grease. They've got grease in their line and it's going to make it go all the way down the line. Let's pretend this is their line. And no, it does not. What happens is the water cools off. The grease gets to about right here. So it doesn't go all the way out to your septic or your sewer. So then you've got a blockage way on down the line. So do not use boiling water to clear your drains.
So this is way on down the line, and this is what happens when that grease gets down the line and cools and solidifies. If you are lucky enough to be able to get a cable down the line, you might knock a hole in the bottom of it, like right there. But you're not realistically going to get all that cleaned out of there with a cable. And I personally do not take a jetter in people's houses. If you have a problem in there, you're going to flood the house super quick. As you can well imagine, it is very time consuming trying to keep this mess under control. I try to catch everything I can in buckets and haul the stuff out, and the pieces that were like completely solidified, I duct taped the ends of them, made like a little temporary cap, so when I was hauling the stuff out of the crawl space, I wasn't spilling it all over the place. In a few minutes, we're going to talk about some safety measures to do with these cables, and one of the things that we're going to talk about is snapping the cable off in the line and what you would have to do to get the line cut apart to retrieve the cable out of it. So this is kind of what would have to happen. I mean, I've got everything cut apart, and then you'd have to do a little bit of pipe fitting to get everything back together once you get that cable out of there. So here's everything all finished up with the pipe fitting, and we've got everything cleaned up and hauled out. So let's get up here to the studio and have a talk about these cables. Earlier we talked about a discussion that would happen in the future about these little cables twisting up. So I just want to show you, if that cable's pulling out like this and it stops right here on the blockage, it will, let's see if I can do this right here. It will actually turn like this on itself. Whoops. Turn like this on itself and twist like this. Just like I said, just like a pretzel. I'm going to lose this drum. Hold him right down there. So what you would not want to have happen is your hand to go in this loop or in these tiny little openings right here. I was in a continuing ed class one time, and the dude was missing a thumb. And, I asked the dude, he was a stranger to me, never met him. Hey, brother, what happened to your thumb? He's like, well, I was in a chicken plant and I got my thumb caught up in the cable and it actually pulled it off.
Okay, I wanted to mention that these 1/4-inch cables are great for not only your kitchen, they're wonderful for your bathroom sinks and your showers and your tubs. Those are really good. This is a good size cable for that. Also for maintenance, it's good to take some oil and see how this one's rusty. We've not been really good about doing that, but
And while we have this cable pulled out, I just want to show y'all, you know, where that thing is kinked right there. So you have to be very careful running these cables. I know I've said that many times before about the very careful thing, because if you take your eye off that cable and it starts to bind up, it will kink like this. And if you're really unlucky, the cable will actually snap off completely in the drain, and then you're going to have a terrible mess. You will, you know, have to cut that drain apart to get the cable out of it. So here again, just, you know, pay close attention to that cable while you're running these tools.
so you heard some of the stories that Joe shared about the dangers of doing your own drain cleaning, whether you're a professional or not. If something has happened to you, would you be sure to share in the comments to help others understand how dangerous drain cleaning can really be?
So now all we have left to do after the drain cleaning is get the drain back together, which hopefully is going to be very simple. We're going to put some pipe dope on some of these key areas up here. And I think Renee might have mentioned earlier that you definitely want to make sure that you have your top hat washer on top of this tail piece right here. It's a flange tail piece, and there's a little top hat washer, and you know you want it clean and in good condition. Just want to get that back up there, right there. And then, you know, these pieces, where these little nuts are, there's a little ferrule right there, and it has to be facing with the beveled side to the fitting. You definitely need to make sure that that is in the right direction, or it's definitely going to leak. So we're going to get that on there. And then we're going to throw a little pipe dope on this bottom part of this P-trap because it holds water all the time. It doesn't take much. Just slip that in there. Slide this back of hair. Get all these nuts started. You probably heard me mention in other videos that I like to start all these a little bit before I go tighten any of them up fully, because it just makes things so much easier to stay in line and get everything started. You know, you can gently put some channel locks on it. These don't have to be crazy tight. I would say a little beyond snug. Get that top washer up there. Okay, this is another really popular way these drains are pieced together. This is a continuous waste. And right here in the T, there is a little wall in there. I don't know if you can see it from there or see it from in there, but I am going to run a scope down there so you really can see it. And this right here, it is a great place for clogs to find themselves because of that little wall.
Let's go ahead and take a look at that little wall. And to the right of this image, you'll see a tiny little gap right there. And that is all the space that the water and the food particles and whatever grease has to get through right there.
We're going to leave a link for you for the Populo drain cleaner in the description below. They're a little bit pricey, so if you want to stick with the tried and true hand drum, I'm going to leave a link below in the description for this as well. If you found this drain cleaning video helpful, please be sure to give us a thumbs up, share, and be sure to check out our next upcoming videos, and be sure and hit that subscribe button. And thank you so much for watching.